Hey, badass black girls, and they making big moves. Hey, badass black girls, nothing that you can't do. They are the future, I'm trying to tell ya. They want the best, no time to settle. They got the strength to handle the pressure. These are the queens, nobody better. Yeah, changing the narrative, that is imperative. They about to rock this. Tell the women that you got this. Got no time for people who are toxic. It's all love, good vibes. You know I got your back, girl. Talking issues that matter. This is badass black girl, yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Badass Black Girl. I'm really excited today because we have a very special guest. And this guest, she's really dear to my heart. Such an honor to have with me today Dr. Vivens. She's going to introduce herself, Dr. Solange Vivens. Dr. Vivens, would you please introduce yourself so everybody can get to know who you are?
Well, thank you, MJ, for the introduction. But I think I want to give your audience a little bit more, a flavor of Solange Vivens. Well, let me start by telling you that I have in my book a definition of Solange.
I love it.
And the synonym for Solange is a little bit crazy. Because you see, in this world that we live in, you can't take life too seriously. I was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, came to the United States as a young girl, didn't speak a word of English in my teens, moved to my sister's house, and I had to really become a badass girl. And at the end, I ended up owning a multi-million dollar business. So it is not how you start, it is how you end. So I just hope that we're going to have such fun with this interview. And MJ, are you ready?
I am ready. I mean, I've been waiting for this. There are so many great things about you, Solange, about your book. So many things I want to talk about. The first thing is, I feel after reading your book that people have no excuses not to go ahead and get what they want because you went through so much in terms of um, just having to struggle your way through. Um, Tell us a little bit about this, particularly for those who haven't read the book yet. By the way, the book is called Girls Can Move Mountains. Yes, we can. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, this girl, she has moved lots of big mountains. Sometimes when I'm on top of a mountain, I ask myself, did you really get there? How did you do it? Because I sometimes scared myself. Well, I have a way of saying, well, first of all, let me tell you, I am the only Solange in the world that is spelled Solanges. I added the S at the end. That's how bad I am. Because there were too many Solanges in Haiti. In each class, there was more than two, three Solanges. And when I was coming to the United States, I changed that and I put an S. So I tell people there are two Solanges in one that you see and one that you don't see.
I love
Because
it.
when the second Solange come out, she scares the hell out of me. So I try to keep her undercover. Today we're going to talk about the Solange that everyone knows. So let me tell you a little bit about me. Came into the US, didn't know anyone, didn't speak English. Actually, no. You know, in Haiti, we take English as a second language.
Yes.
And, you know, I thought I was that good. I thought I knew my English, and I came into the United States ready to speak until I walked in and I realized I knew nothing, period. Even the English that I was taught in Haiti is completely different than what I walked into in New York City. Like I said in the book, you know, in school, in high school in Haiti, I learned the word perhaps. Now, who in the US you hear talk, perhaps I'll do this? Well, let's go, maybe we'll go to England, we'll hear people say, perhaps. But in New York City, when I got into New York City, honey, it was maybe yes, maybe no. So I started all over again at learning a language. One. Two, I had no friends. I knew no one but my sister, my brother-in-law, and their two little kids. And then I became a nanny for them. And from there, I went to work at Misericordia Hospital as a nurse's aide. From there, I was told, oh, no, I didn't tell you the best part. I had to work, I worked in factories. Back then, now keep in mind that this year will be 50 years in June since I graduated nursing school. And I'm speaking before nursing school. So that will tell you how far back I am taking you and your audience so that you can realize what I walked into, okay? So I came in and I had to fend for myself, period. So I wrote the book because I was what people are calling the pioneer. I came in the United States in the 60s. And when people my age used to come in the US back then, you came in to work as a housekeeper in someone's house. That was the job, if you will, especially for women. That's what people used to come to. So I came in on a 2-month visa. That's the best part. I was not even legal in the people's country. And you know what? I feel so sorry for the DACA kids. I associate very much with DACA. And the reason is because I was there. That uncertainty, that waiting for one day to be handcuffed to the airport was my biggest fear back then, you see. So I started my first job at a factory, and that was in Manhattan. Back then, Manhattan was the Garden District, and that's where a lot of sewing, a lot of clothing, that's where the economy was in New York, was in Manhattan. So I started working at a factory where they were making, I was sewing skirts. It was a garment place, but my job, I had a pile of cloth on one side, a pile on the other side, a sewing machine in front of me. So you might say at 19, 18, you know, how did you know how to sew? Well, my mother was a seamstress, and my mother used to make all of our clothes. So I knew how to sew. My mother taught us how to sew, and there was no toys when I was growing up. There was no store you go buy toys. First of all, my parents didn't have money for toys. They barely had money to feed us. So we made our own doll. You take a piece of cloth, you cut it in the shape of the body, you make your own doll, and then we used to make our own clothing for our dolls. So that's how I knew how to use a sewing machine. So I sat there and I pedaled, and I got a nickel per skirt. So I took 2 pieces of cloth, I go zoop, and then I turn it and I go zoop into the machine and I dump it in a basket. And at the end of the day, somebody will come in and count how many skirts I did. Now, when I tell you skirts, all I did was sewing the 2 sides. Then the basket goes to somebody else to do the hem, and the basket goes to somebody else to do the waist. So it was a factory. I did that for a month, I think. And I went back home and I said to my sister, oh no, I'll go back to Haiti. I wouldn't do that. I can't. Then she found me a second factory. Now, that factory, I was making suitcases. Now, what did I do? What was my piece? You know, it's called piecework. Everybody do a piece. So I was sewing zippers in suitcases. At this point, my sewing machine was up high, and I stood there all day pedaling to sew zippers in suitcases. That was my second job. Then my third job was as a nurse's aide at Misericordia Hospital. And from there, I had a family that literally adopted me. I was 19, and I was supposed to work as a housekeeper. That's what the lawyer told my sister. The only way I can get a visa is for me to find a white family that will allow me to work at their home, and they will give me papers. Now there come the fight, because I told my sister, I am not going to work as a housekeeper. I'm going back to Haiti. And we had that fight, but finally she convinced me, and the lawyer found me the best family in the world. They had money. I had a driver. I mean, when I tell you, I had my own room, my living room, I had my suite in the lower level, and the people were wonderful. So that's the beginning that's my beginning in the United States of America. And then from there, I went to nursing school, and the rest is history.
History indeed. I mean, it's so refreshing to read your story, because we hear very often rags to riches, so many stories where people get rich, but it's never really stories about hard work and doing this. In many of those stories, it's just luck, where someone becomes rich and now their life is completely changed. But what I loved about your book is that we could see the steps, everything you had to do. You arrived not knowing English. You had to get disciplined enough to to teach yourself the language. Um, you had to have enough perseverance to go to work and find out the kind of work you were willing to do and what you were not willing to do. I mean, you basically give us a roadmap how to improve our lives. And I will never be thankful enough for what you've done, Solange, by writing this book and putting it out there for us girls to know that we can be as badass as you are. I want to thank you for writing this book and putting it out there. Um, I do have another question for you.
Okay.
And the past few years have really stressed the idea of being a strong woman, um, and being kind of the decider of your faith. And there's a lot of that in your book. But I'm really intrigued also about your relationship with the men in your life, um, and the role that they've played in helping you become the person you are. And of course, I'm referring here to your husband, Keith, but also the role that your son, Kevin, has played in making you the Solange that you are today. I'm curious about the interplay of those relationships and the feminist aspect of your story as well.
Well, at the beginning of my book, there is one word I call luck. Some of us call it a blessing. You will hear people say, I was so blessed. Or some people will say, I was so lucky. I think they're synonymous, both of them. When you talk about I was blessed, it's because of your faith that you understand what a blessing is. And when you talk about luck, you kind of feel that there has got to be a spirit somewhere that was with you. Now, what I tell people is that I'm a person of faith, very much so. I believe that I had a spirit with me. And today, at my age, I still feel that I have that spirit with me. The spirit that I feel is with all of you out there. You all have it. It's a matter of recognizing it, take advantage of it, and capitalize on it. So what do I mean by that? Sometimes some of us can't find the positivity in what's going on around us. We are so occupied by the negative, that we miss the positive opportunity that we can get in a negative. And when you read my book, you will see that I did not want to go to a party, but I went to the party as a favor to my supervisor, who was supposed to be, she really wanted this guy. This guy was supposed to be at the party. She wanted to go to the party so badly, and I did not want to go. She forced me to go. I went, and I ended up meeting my lovely husband at that party, and she never had a relationship with the guy that she was after. Wow. So this is luck. This is blessing. This is faith, you see. And when these opportunities present themselves, we need to make sure that we go after them, we capitalize on them by just being kind, by just doing a favor to someone. I ended up being blessed by meeting the best person I could have ever met. Let me tell you, there are about how many sisters? There's 6, 7, 8, 9, a bunch of sisters. I'm the only one who married a foreigner. They all married Haitian. I am the only one of the group who married someone that is not Haitian. My husband was from Barbados. He was really British. And when he met me, he decided that I had a lot of potentials, and he wanted to make sure that I met all my potentials. And that's what I gave. Now, you asked me, how did that work out? Let me give you an example. As a Haitian woman, I was somewhat different because we're going to a party. I come home from work. My husband selected the shoes, the pocketbook, the dress that I'm gonna wear to that party. And he take everything out of my closet. Everything is ready for me. All I have to do is to take a shower and put it on, right? Now, I know some young women who would get very angry, very upset, and that would create an argument. How do you know this is what I want to wear? I don't want to wear that. No. See what I did? My head at that time was that if he selected that outfit for me to wear, that's because that's how he sees me. That's how, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what I want to wear. What I want to wear, I wear it when I'm going out by myself with my friends. I can put whatever I want on. But if he selected it, I'm going with him. My mind is to please him. He's my companion. So I listen to what the Spirit told me to do, and that's what I did. But otherwise, there would have been arguments all the time. That's what a marriage is all about. It's compromising. Let's assume I didn't want to wear that dress. What the heck? What difference does it make? I wear it. He's happy. We dance all night. We come home. We make love, and everybody is happy. The other way could have been a big argument. So that's how my relationship with my husband was. He would compromise for me, and I would compromise for him. He will read all. He pushed me to go back to school, because when I met Keith, I was finishing my bachelor's. I was already a diploma nurse, a 3-year diploma nurse, and I finished my bachelor's. I did my master's. He pushed me to go get my master's. He read all my book reports. I did my master's at Georgetown University in health management. He read all my book reports, and then after I do my book report, he would take it and read it and say, you missed this. There was a good point in that book that you didn't put in your book report. So he looked for work for me. He would read my magazine when they come. He said, I think you should apply for this job. And some women will take it total opposite, and I would not be where I am today. I have a lovely son who's also in my life. He is just like his dad. He looks just like me, and that's all he has for me is the look. He had his dad personality. He's a great husband, had a nice little wife. And I'll give you an example. I had a decision to make today, whether or not I should sell my condominium in Washington. You know, what do I need to do? At my age right now, I need to make some other decisions. Who did I call? My son and his wife. And I called my son my external conscience. because I bounce things on him the same way I used to bounce things on his dad. So relationship is very important, even at work. It's what did you bring to the relationship that is important, not what you're gonna get out of it, because what you get out of relationship has a lot to do with what you put into it.
This is so beautiful, Solange. And you make such a great point about the fact that it's a compromise. When you're in a relationship, it's a compromise. And that goes for intimate relationships with significant others, with our kids, our family members, but also at work. And you provide a lot of information throughout the book about work politics, how to choose your battles. You were in there were many cases where you had to choose your battles, um, and I would love for you to talk a little bit about that. Um,
Which
what is
one?
some of what
Which battle?
advice? Or you can choose any story you want from the book, but what is some of the advice that you would give to young entrepreneurs about the way they need to manage their relationships at work?
Since I'm Haitian, I'll tell you a little story and then I'll go back to that. I was battling a union problem in my business because I had 4 businesses that I was managing at the same time and about 800 employees in my business. And the union wanted to penetrate my business. However, it's not that I have anything against union, but the employees did not need the union because I was their union. You see, I make sure that my employees eat breakfast every morning. My nursing homes, the cafeteria open at 7, so that the one who just drop a child at a babysitter to be at the nursing home at 7, they stop in the cafeteria and eat breakfast. The one that finish work midnight to 7, before they get behind the wheels to start driving, they stop in the cafeteria and they eat breakfast. This is just to give you an example of how I felt accountable for my staff. When at the end of the year, if we make money, I take part of the profit and I give every single employee a bonus. Maybe 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 days, maybe 1 day, regardless, depending on how much money we make. So, and they were paid. We were the best paid nursing homes in the District of Columbia. So they really did not need a union. But the union was very angry with me. So they did everything. They put my picture on the side of a bus and they drove that bus all over DC. And people start calling me, asking me, are you running for mayor? You know, people wanted to know why I was being treated that way. But let me tell you the Haitian part. They knew I was Haitian. And one day, the employees, a couple of employees came and got me. You got to come outside. You got to come outside. Well, across the street from my nursing home, there was the biggest voodoo spread. The biggest voodoo spread you have ever seen. There were candles, there were crosses, there were white cloth. I mean, it was amazing. So I called my son, who was the president of the company. He ran upstairs and I said, Kev, take my picture. So I crossed the street and I stood right next to the voodoo spread and I had my picture taken with it. That's how badass I was when I was working.
You're not afraid
No
of
one wants,
anything.
no one wants to be, and I have those pictures. I have pictures to show what the spread that they did across the street from my nursing home. Talking about being persecuted, you don't understand. I was, and still, I was the only woman company that owned the nursing home business in the District of Columbia. And no one wants to believe that I did. Everybody wanted to know, how in the world did she do it? Well, I work 24/7, 365 days a year, and I don't sleep. You know, I work very hard because I knew what I wanted. always visualize what I want. To date, I can see it. And then I go for it. And I don't care how long it takes, but I'm going to get what I want because I already see it. You know, people say, oh, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, I see it. That's why I believe it.
That's such a great lesson, and I love what you said about you being the union for your employees. Although it's your company, um, it, sometimes people see that distance between the employer and the employee, and that's why they of course want someone to be on their side.
Exactly.
But when you are an entrepreneur, that's something that you really have to think about. How do your
Mhm.
employees see you? And um, even when you have their best interest in mind, do you actually show it to them? And you explain in the book all the steps that you took to make sure that they felt welcome and accepted and valued. And I
Mhm.
think that it's so important in terms of relationships at work. And you also talk a little bit about the difficulties that you had when people who were basically on top of you in the hierarchy at work try
Mhm.
to stop you from becoming your best self.
Mhm.
Would you talk a little bit about that? How you fought um, against racism at work and just people trying to quote unquote put you in your place?
Well, you see, when first of all, I became a director of nursing. And from being a director of nursing, I went straight to become the administrator of a nursing home. A nursing home that was in trouble. The government, the federal government gave them 90 days to close them down. And I was asked to go there. But I always say, and you will see it in the book, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. And I want young people to understand that you have got to be prepared all the time. So while I was director of nursing, I went to Georgetown. I got my master's in health services administration. And then I took the national exam and the state exam to become licensed as a nursing home administrator. Now, I had all that in my back pocket while I was still working as director of nursing. I knew what I wanted. I knew where I wanted to go, but I was not there yet. The opportunity was not there, you see. But remember, young people, if you are not prepared, the opportunity will be in front of your nose. You can't take advantage of the opportunity because you failed to prepare yourself. So when I was asked, never been an assistant administrator, never been an administrator, to take on a facility in trouble, I went home and I told my husband, and you know what he did? He looked at me, he said, you know, that facility is so low down right now. No matter what you do, you're going to look good and smell good. Take it. That was his advice. And believe you me, I took it. In 6 months, I got $25,000 raise for my salary. Back then, administrators didn't make a lot of money. I was making $50,000. I got a $25,000. Now, you know, I'm talking in the early 70s, I was really rich, making $75,000 a year. So, and then I got I got the salary that I deserved, by the way, because I turned the facility around. There is a magazine called The Beacon that is a senior magazine in Washington. They put me in the magazine. They wrote a big article on me, and that started the ball rolling in the district. Then the company that had the management company, a guy came to me, a white man from Indianapolis. He came to me one day. He said, "You're doing such a great job. Our company have decided we're too far away. That's why the facility had so much problem. If you want, you can bid on it. Just go form a company and bid on it." Talking about luck, talking about blessings, talking about kindness, all of those things. That's the reason I wrote the book, so people understand how all those factors can come together and turn your life around. That's how I ended up forming my company, minority certified in the district, and the rest is history. I start forming one company after another and stay in the health system.
This is amazing, Solange. I wanted to ask you, um, you've always been a mentor to many people. You talk about how you mentored other nurses as you founded your own company, and the company expanded. You studied, you had a school for nurses at some point. How do you continue with that mentorship? I know that you do a lot of speaking events. You wrote a book. Tell us a little bit about the place that teaching and mentoring continues to play in your life.
Well, you see, I started so low that in my head I should not take the ladder off the wall. This is where my mentality is from the very, very, very beginning. I believe that as a leader, I had the responsibility to see potential in others. And my job, once I see the potential, is to develop that potential. You should see the email that I'm getting still. One of my staff, I mean, she worked, Elizabeth just sent me a text. She said, boy, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. And I wrote her back, I said, Liz, you are there already. See, give her that positive. I said, Liz, you are there already. So I still continue to work with lots of women. I have a niece that I've been pushing for years. She just got a license as an esthetician and she's opening her own shop. And she's so elated. And she kept saying, Mata, so it's because of you that I'm able to do what I'm doing. My assistant that I have right now, I just hired an assistant to help me. She said to me the other day, she said, I should be paying you. You should not be paying me because I'm getting more in the relationship. So that's what kept me going as well. I'm not young, but my mind is so young. I tell people I'm an ever-ready battery. I'm so ready to go. I speak a lot. I do a lot of Zoom. And I am right now translating my book in French and in Creole because I have 21 things to do in 2021. And part of my 21 things is that I'm going to go to Guadeloupe with the book in French. I'm going to take the book to Haiti, to Paris and Martinique. And I have a list of Canada already wants me. They're waiting for me to come. I'm just waiting for COVID to finish for me to spread my wings. And I am a turtle, as you probably know. So I am inside the shell a little bit right now, waiting for COVID to slow down because I'm a senior. And I am waiting. Once COVID is gone, I am going to put my neck out. Got to stick your neck out in order for you to go forward. I'm waiting and I'm going to stick my neck out with my 21 things to do in 2021.
Doctor, ah, thank you so much. I mean, there's so much about you. You're an entrepreneur. You're an educator. You're a mentor. You're a wonderful mother. You are so many things, and I feel overwhelmed by all the great things that we can learn from you. I encourage everyone to get the book from Dr. Solange Vivens, Girls Can Move Mountains. Such an inspiring story from being poor in Haiti to becoming one of the most powerful people in your industry. Not just one of the most powerful women, one of the most powerful people. And not just one of the most powerful Haitian people. I mean, the, as we say in Creole, chapeau bas, meaning much respect to you for
Thank
what you
you.
do, for what you've done and continue to do. You're an inspiration for us. And we thank you so much for coming today and sharing a little bit of your story. I will put the link to your book in the description. People will encourage you, buy your book, and we hope you'll come back and continue this conversation on some other day. Maybe you can tell us in 2022 how you accomplished the 21 goals that you had for this year.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
all depend. It's all depend on COVID, though. I'm trying to stay safe. So once
Yes.
COVID is over, I'm gonna spread my wings, and I would love to come back because my goal is really to share to the young people that if you think it's hard now, imagine how hard it was 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 75 years ago. It
Uh,
was even more, and they have better opportunities than I did. Um, you see, available to them. So I really want young people to know that hard work is not a prerequisite to dying.
well said. Thank you so much. Well, here you have it. Thank you for watching this episode of Badass Black Girl. With us today was Dr. Solange Vivens, the author of Girls Can Move Mountains. She's been sharing her journey, her story, and there's so much to get from this book. I encourage everyone to get it. And Dr. Solange will be back. So until next time.